So in January this year, I made a video about my outlook for the 2021 real estate market in North Carolina. And in that video, I mentioned that, of course, it was a seller's market, as everybody knew, but I also mentioned that not only do I think it might stay this way, I think it actually might get worse for buyers, at least towards the front half of the year. And guess what? The crystal ball was working. Good or bad, I turned out to be right in that prediction. Seriously though, the market has been crazy. It's been really tough on buyers. And if you've been looking at real estate in North Carolina anytime this year, you probably know that. In this video, I want to talk about ways that I'm helping clients get their offer accepted. And what I mean by doing that is you've probably heard stories, if you're looking at the real estate market in North Carolina, about people writing 5, 10, 15 offers and still haven't got a house under contract. I hear those stories all the time. And I want to tell you that my clients, people that I work with, we're averaging getting a house and writing an offer on 1 to 3 properties. And I'm saying that not to brag. One, I'm kind of applying for a job here because if you're thinking about buying or selling or moving to North Carolina, I want to help you out with that. You can call or text me at 336-837-5924, or you can email me at jeff@govalentino.com. I got your back if you're thinking about moving to North Carolina. If it's in the Triad, I'll help you personally. Anywhere else in the state, I have business partners and team members that are going to follow this exact process here to help you get your offer accepted as well, so please reach out. Okay, so I'm going to go over a couple things that help me do this. And the first thing I want to say is not only am I out here helping clients every day write offers and get offers accepted, but I also do compliance for our office that has over about 70 agents in it. So I go over every single contract that gets in here. So not only am I seeing all my offers and working with my clients and talking to, networking with other people, but I'm also reviewing actual contracts, both rejected and accepted contracts, to see what's going on and what's what. So I'm able to get, to piece together a little bit of a puzzle here that I think gives me and my clients an advantage when we're working together to get that house, okay? So a couple things before we go into these 3 things that I'll tell you. A couple things to keep in mind. And the first thing is this, is the market doesn't care. The market right now, it doesn't care, well, not right now, but never. The market doesn't care if you think prices are too high, or if you think multiple offers are dumb, or if you think you shouldn't have to pay that much in due diligence money. The market is indifferent about all those things. I remember a few years ago when the market was flipped around and we were begging people to buy houses. It was different, but guess what? The market didn't care then. The market is the market. I'm just giving you the current state of it and what I'm seeing having to be done to get offers accepted, okay? The second thing is you should know the process before you start down this path. Oftentimes I see people reach out and they're ready to go look at houses and buy houses, but they don't know anything about the purchase process in North Carolina, and it's much different than other states. So if you don't know the process, do some research, or better yet, have a conversation with me or with one of my teammates or business partners on the process in North Carolina, because it is a little bit different. That will help you, 1, is be more comfortable, but 2, when it's time, you can act fast and you can act with certainty when that happens, all right? So 3 things that you can do to get your offer accepted. Now, some of this is going to be for you to do, and some of this is going to be for your agent to do. Hopefully, that agent is me, but if not, you need to check and make sure that they're doing these things, okay? All right, so the first thing is write a clean offer. And what do I mean by a clean offer? Well, that's an offer, it has a couple of different things in there. One is that there's no fluff in it. You might really like that chandelier, and you might really want the microwave, and you might really want to do, have them cut down that bush and this, and it's not a lot of fluff. Now is not the time to be adding paragraphs in of things you want to have done in the offer. Prioritize a couple things that you really want. If you really want the refrigerator included, or the gas logs in the fireplace, prioritize a couple things in there and put 1 or 2 things in there if you can, okay? But keep that offer clean. The more stuff you add in and more clutter, that's just more things for a seller to sort through and to keep track of, and when they're just really trying to look at dollars and cents things, and these other things just kind of clutter things up. The other thing, and I know if you've seen any of my other videos, we've talked about it before, but have good financing. Have good financing and have it in place. And what I mean by that is, let's say we have a seller's looking at 2 offers, right? Or let's say they're looking at 10. 2 of them are the same price, You know, they're both they're both the higher end of the price, and terms are good and everything like that. But one is with XYZ large bank, and the other one is with a local lender that has a good reputation and things like that. Everything else being equal, I mean, who are they going to pick? It just stands to reason. Let's not do anything that can put us at a disadvantage before we even start. So again, you can use whatever lender you choose, and I can make it all work. But if you have good financing and you have that in place, if you have a local lender that has a good reputation in that local market, that knows the rules and customs in that local market, if you're doing that, that's automatically going to have you at or above an offer from a large, giant, nameless, faceless bank where they got to go through 28 voicemail prompts, and you know, they're out of there right at 5 o'clock and not available on weekends and things like that. Just, you know, a good local lender with some solid availability or a team in place is gonna put you ahead of the game a lot of times. The other thing is to make sure that the offer, when your agent sends it, is it's complete. And I can't believe this when I'm looking at the listing side of it and I get a bunch of offers in on a property. One is the agent doesn't even call and say when's coming. They don't follow up to see if I got it, or it's incomplete. It doesn't have a pre-approval letter with it, or, you know, the agent didn't call and introduce themselves or anything. There was nothing about that, or the offer is incomplete. It's just got the basic terms on there because they had to hurry up and fire it out because the deadline was coming or whatever. You gotta still send a complete offer if you're gonna give yourself the best chance possible. So again, make sure that you talk this through. If your agent's not me, or someone else on my team, make sure that you're talking through this with them and you understand exactly what does your offer packet look like. Show me the bullet points. What are you saying to the other agent? How are you going to bat for me when even just you're doing something simple as sending that across? Because again, the market doesn't care, and that's just kind of what it is right now. We have to go to bat for our clients as buyer's agents. We have to go to bat for them and kind of, you know, we got to kind of do a little bit of selling in there. It's not just the black and white of the numbers on here. It's, you know, we got to say, hey, here's my client, here's what they're looking for. And I'm not talking about love letters and things like that, which can be a fair housing, you know, issue, which we're kind of discouraging those right now. But really, it's just is making a thorough, complete offer. And then the last thing that goes along with that is, how does your agent communicate with the listing agent? Are they available? Are they letting them know? Phone, email, text, whichever is easier for you to get back to me. I'm here. Let me know what you think. If you want to speak to the lender, I'm happy to arrange that for you. Like, what is your agent doing to communicate with the listing agent? Because part of our job right now is to put the listing agent at ease that if you accept this offer, I'm going to be okay to work with, and the offer is going to close, right? That's kind of what we're doing. We're having to kind of sell this stuff right now. So we want to make sure that that is all in place. And that's what I would call a clean offer, those items. The next thing, now these last two things are kind of ninja level things. So I hope a lot of real estate agents don't watch this because I've given away a couple of my secrets here. But these last two things are really important. The first one is the due diligence money. So that's number 2, is the due diligence money. North Carolina is a caveat emptor state, or buyer beware state. That means our contracts, they're not contingent on financing, they're not contingent on inspections or anything like that, or attorney review. It's not like that here. This is a caveat emptor or buyer beware state. So North Carolina has a due diligence period that the buyer pays the seller for directly. And if you want to go over that in detail, again, this is part of getting to know that process. Please reach out to me, call me, email me, text me. I got your back. We can go over this process so you understand it. But suffice to say, your due diligence money, meaning the fee that the buyer pays the seller, right, to have that property off the market, to have it so they can do their appraisals, inspections, to make sure the property is what they thought it was, needs to be high. And this is another one. I hear agents, they complain, they don't think it's fair that these due diligence fees happen to be, 2% of the purchase price and things that, they think that's not fair. This is another one of those times where the market doesn't care. The market is saying offers with higher due diligence fees, they're getting accepted more than offers with lower due diligence fees. It just is what it is, right? So here's some ways you can protect yourself when you're going to be writing a large due diligence check, because 99% of the time, those are non-refundable. The first thing you can do, and the most important thing, is have solid criteria in place of when I'm going to do, a due diligence fee that's 1%, and if I'm going to do a due diligence fee that's 2% or more, or whatever you come up with. Like, when am I going to really push that? What are the criteria, right? Is it going to be the year that it's built? Is it going to be the age of the roof and the mechanicals? Is it going to be if it has the exact layout we had to have, or the exact number of beds and baths we have to have, right? Get a criteria in place. So if we know that going into it, when I'm going to go show you the house, if it's got this, this, and this, we're going to push it on this one. If it doesn't, we'll make a good strong offer. But here's the cases where we really will push that due diligence fee, because right now the bottom line of it is that money talks. And I hate to say it's always about that, but reality is money is a big thing, and sometimes due diligence fee, even more than price, really shows a seller that you're serious and you want to get this property closed. All right, so the third and final thing, and maybe one of the most important things if you're doing financing, if you're paying cash too, but especially if you're doing financing, is that due diligence period. Have your due diligence period dialed in and make it as short as you can. Now, a due diligence period, again, we'll talk about this in a consultation about the buying process, but that's your time, that's your due diligence period. That's your time for inspections, appraisals, to make sure your financing and everything is in order. That's your time to go through all that stuff. The property is yours, it's off the market. The buyer can walk away for any reason or for no reason at all during that time, right? That's your time, you're in control of that property. But what we can do in here to make it more appealing to the seller is we can condense that time frame to as little amount as possible, okay? It used to be just, a year or two ago, we were writing due diligence time periods with 4, 5, 6 weeks in with, 45-day close and things like that. Now, what I'm seeing is offers that are getting accepted have these due diligence time periods condensed. And I'm not saying don't do an inspection. I'm not saying I'm not saying any of that, because you want to do your due diligence on properties unless it's a real gem, right? But what you can do is you can condense that. And here's how you do that. Here's the best way to condense your due diligence time frame. One is to know your lender. This, not to repeat myself, but if you have your lender that you know in advance, or that I know that I've done 20 deals with in the last year and 15 of them have relocated from out of state, I know they can get an appraisal done in 10 days or whatever the case may be. Like, you got to know that going in, right? Because you have to factor this time in there to do that. And if you don't, and if you have, another one of these big nameless, faceless places, can they rush an appraisal? Maybe, I don't know. Does it take, 4 weeks to get it done? I don't know, right? So who knows? But the important thing is to have that conversation up front, either with your agent and probably your lender as well, to have a plan for this stuff. So that's the first thing, is to know your lender. How quick can we get through underwriting? Hopefully, if you've done what I suggested earlier, you're already into the underwriting process before you even make an offer. You've got it in tax forms, pay stubs, all those things like that. So you're prior credit approved before you're even making these offers, or been through underwriting if you need to before you do it. But if not, we're at least halfway home, right? We just got to go through this and that and make sure appraisal is okay and inspections are okay and we're done. But you have to have a good lender that is on top of it and that can hustle when they're going to do this stuff. And I'm happy to say most of the lenders that I know and that I recommend, they understand this, and they're like, boom, 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 nights, weekends, if you need them, like, we make it happen. So I love that about them. The last thing on there about your due diligence period, how you can really condense that, is to know what other vendors you're going to use. Like, do you know your home inspector? Do you know your pest inspector? Do you know if it's well inspected? Like, do you know all these people? One, hopefully you have them picked out. Two, hopefully even better is you know their time frames, right? If it's a mom and pop shop and they're booked out 2 weeks because they're one of the best around, okay, that's great. But will that work in our time frame? Right? Do we need somebody that has a little bit more staff and a little bit more availability to come and make sure that, they can get this job done in that condensed time frame? So you have to know this going in. So you and your agent should do a little due diligence ahead of time, not to mix words there, but do some research ahead of time. And okay, this is the home inspector we're going to use. This is what we're going to use for pests and this and that. And this is their general availability. Most of the time you can look at this online, or you can make a phone call to them to really see these things. But by doing that and knowing, okay, this person can get a home inspection done in the next 4 days, I feel confident in shrinking that due diligence time period down, what is normally, 3 or 4 weeks, down to, 2 to 3 weeks. And sellers like that. So the more we can shrink that down, the better. So that's it. Those are the 3 things I'm really doing to help my clients get their offers accepted at a much higher rate than other things. But the most important thing is you got to have an agent that's got your back. You got to have somebody that can get in your corner and that can fight for you, and that's that can really make your case to the listing agent. So I hope that video was helpful. If you have any questions, leave a comment below or call or text me at 336-837-5924, or you can always email me at jeff@govalentino.com. Thanks so much.